Right, welcome to Show Me the Money Rugby League TV for the second championship review preview show. We're also going to put League One in to this show now. It got up and running this week. We had round one of League One, so we'll get onto that in a little bit, see how the first week went in there. But starting with the championship, Friday night was the first game. Sheffield at home to Batley. Both had slightly contrasting starts to the year. Batley is, as we all predicted, going to be in for a much tougher season this year, and it's showing already. So it was going to be a tough ask, I felt, for them to go away to Sheffield on the 4G, which I feel plays into Sheffield's hands more than Batley, and it showed a very convincing 36-0 victory. I think it's the first time Sheffield have won to nil in 7 years.
Wow, good start.
So very impressive performance from them, cementing that they are very much going to be making a big, bold statement to get in those playoffs this year after missing out last year. So good start for Sheffield, and Batley continue to find it tough. So it's going to be an interesting few weeks to see if Batley can bounce back and pick up some points. I mean, they've got 2 on the board, haven't they, after the London game? But
yep.
Yeah, it's as we expected for them. So brilliant for Sheffield, tough for Batley. I don't think it could have gone much better on the night, keeping a clean sheet. Fax and Corey building that partnership. Yeah, we've spoken a lot about Sheffield this year and the recruitment they've done, and the depth they've got in the middle, and the pack's so strong. They were just too much for Batley, simple as that. So not much more to say about Joe. I don't know if you've anything to add.
The Jim show, the Jimmy Mack covers Sheffield Eagles show.
I've not much more to say, really. Well, you can't really.
I think you
look
just
for many positives to Batley there.
No, yeah, I think that's the big comment in it. You probably well done, Sheffield. Great performance again, but probably nervous about Batley. I think I was just nervous from the start. I think last year they did so well, and it's always tough, and it's like late. I mention Leeds a lot. We get slaughtered a bit actually now, but it's like Bradford. I think we've turned into the Leeds one, but the Batley is kind of like Leeds, where the expectation, because they actually maybe overperformed of what they were thinking should have done. It probably set a higher expectation, and it's be tough for Batley. A tough loss, like you said. And it's never nice being nilled. It's sad, isn't it? They probably need a few signings. I'm going to say it. They need to sign a few. They've lost some key names. Some of their best players are getting that year older. They had an old squad last year anyway. They've been together years, and they've lost two of their biggest guns. I think they need a signing or two. Whether they've got the cap, not the cap, just the money in general, to be honest, to sign a couple more. That's a different question, but even listening to Paul Lingard pre-season, you could see he was thinking we need more. I think he
Craig.
Did I say Paul Lingard? Who's Paul Lingard?
I don't know.
I think,
his
sorry.
brother?
Yeah, I made up Paul. Craig Lingard, sorry, Craig. Yeah, I love it, but you could even hear in his voice, the way you were talking, you sense that he might have felt it coming. I think he knew that with it last year, with the year that he did amazing things. He's a brilliant coach. I'm sure he'll figure something out and give it a go, but I'm worried if they don't sign a couple more people.
Yeah.
They just don't.
They're up against it, aren't they? Like we've said for weeks.
And I think they've got like 17 or 18 fit players, and if they don't sign a couple more and a couple more injuries, it's only the first week, and it's not like they're missing loads of the big players. So I think they need to sign a couple more. I do.
Well, yeah. If they want a chance for the playoffs, I feel like a broken record. We've said it enough times. There's so many strong teams in the championship this year, and they're going to have to. If they want to make a play for the playoffs, they're going to have to get a bit of help from the Super League team, or they're going to have to pull some money from somewhere, because
I think we might have a couple for you. No.
And then the next game, same scoreline. York, a quick turnaround after a great win against Bradford on the Monday night on Viaplay. It was a really, really good win for them against Bradford, but a short turnaround to go to Toulouse. They gave a couple of players a little break. We know that they're already got a few on the sidelines, so it gave Hendo a chance to give a couple of the younger lads a go out there, and they had a weekend away in France, but it was always going to be a tough ask. We've seen Toulouse start the season emphatically, and they continued that with a 36-0 victory, just again cementing that they are going to be answering all questions that some had before the start. So again, not an awful lot to say. It was a weakened York team.
I do have something to say, and it's what I said last week. I'm challenging the rest of the champ teams. I guess York have got an excuse here because they do have an injury-riddled early start to the season, and I get that they're resting a few for maybe a potential win. But I want some team. I've seen these highlights of the Toulouse, and they're good. I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying they're not probably the best team or / obviously with Feather top 2 team in it. I'm not saying that, but it's not like I'm not looking at the highlights and the games. I think I watched the full game. I can't remember. I'm going thing, but I've watched all the highlights, and they don't look like they're unbeaten. Against Barrow, I watched it because it was on. They look like you can have a good game against them, like you can pull off a win, but it seems like already they're going, let's scratch that off. And I get York have a built-in excuse, but the Barrow, like I said, Barrow, you spoke to some of the players, we just didn't turn up. Who was the one last week? Who did they play last week? They played last week, and
they beat Newcastle 58-0, I think.
Yeah, and they said, and the Newcastle players said the same thing. We just didn't show. I'm challenging anyone other than Fev to step up.
I'm going to say the same thing to you as I said last week. I think teams will when they get them at home. So the top teams in the championship will be having a go at them when they play them at home, and some of them away, but. It's too hard on a short turnaround for York this week. Newcastle, with respect, are one of the lower teams in the champ, so it's a different thing. But I expect that when Bradford get Toulouse at home, when Halifax, Sheffield, Widnes, when they get Toulouse at their place, they'll be going to win that game. They won't be rolling over. And some of those teams will go over there and prepare for it and be able to send a stronger team. So
I hope they do.
I do think that time will come. And the same with Fev. It's looking, and I understand what you're saying. It's a ferocious start from Fev. And
taking the fun out of the league. It's taking the fun out of it.
Well, I don't know. I still think that the battle we've got going on for the playoffs is still going to be immense. And
then it doesn't mean out if the top 2 are just the top 2 again, does it?
Well, you've got to remember this is all about the grand final. This is all about the grand final. So it's about getting into the playoffs and trying to time it well. Yes. As we expected at the start of the year, certainly as me and Mick expected, it was going to be Fev and Toulouse fighting it out for the top 2 spots. But there's still teams we know that if they get in the playoffs, like Batley did last year against the Odds in a one-off game, that's what this competition's about. Getting the playoffs.
Not as fun, though, is it?
I disagree. I think the fight for the playoffs is the exciting thing. The fight for the top spot is less exciting than the battle to get in the playoffs to have a chance.
I don't know. Not for me.
All right, well.
Not for me. I want to see them take on these Toulouse, because then the season, when you see a Fev and Toulouse become meaningless and they're like, we'll just challenge them in the playoffs. So if you see any team go against Fev and Toulouse, they don't become unwatchable because you're seeing the best team in the league, but it takes the fun out of it going, can they do it? Can they beat them? Oh, wait, they're not even mentally ready to beat them. Why?
Yeah, I get that. I do get that. But I do, as I said, I do think there'll be more of that will start to happen. Certainly.
Hope so. I'm hoping so.
Away in Toulouse is a very tough gig. On to Sunday, we'll start with what we were probably most excited for after Bradford's defeat to York, and it was a bad defeat. They were very poor. It was a nightmare game. I've said it to numerous people since. I don't think if they play that game 10 times, Bradford could possibly play quite as badly as they did. It was 8 errors on first plays, just didn't even give themselves a chance, and York did really well to capitalise on that. It was just a nightmare for Bradford. So Widnes at home with the extra excitement and angle of John Keir coming back to Wadsall, especially with Bradford facing Toulouse and Featherstone in the next two, and then even Sheffield the game after. It was a real big game to try and get a win and settle the nerves after that York game. It went down to the last minute. It's a shame the game call is not here to really build it up, but I was at a different game yesterday, so I didn't see it. I just followed it on Twitter. But Tom Holmes, with less than a minute on the clock, gets on a short lead off deck pattern and crashes over. One of Bradford players said this morning, like, he still can't believe how the feeling of getting that win. He said it felt like we're in a Challenge Cup final. It was just such relief and such excitement to get that job done, because we know Widnes are good and it was always going to be tough to do it. So big relief, I think, for everyone at Bradford, from Big Nigel to Mark Dunning to his coaching staff, for all the players to manage to pick off what are clearly a very good Widnes side.
Yeah, like I said, I think the bells were ringing last week, weren't they? Last Monday night, the bells were ringing. Are Bradford going to repeat what they did last year and dip off? And doubts against Mark on Twitter and that. And obviously, well done to Mark for obviously a friend of Show Me the Money's, Mark Dunning. He's got a massive win against his, I think still his friend by all regards, John Keir.
Definitely.
His old mate John is obviously, I guess as such a mentor as such, with how he come through the system. Mark's come through the system at Bradford, John being there, and I bet Mark will be buzzing about that. I said I tried to build it up as an upcoming rivalry, but you and Mick shot me down last week. I was a bit disappointed in that last
I don't think you realised we were still friends, did you?
Well, no, but either way, it should still be a bit of fun, shouldn't it? Ex-coaches like that. There will be a bit of rivalry there, even if there are friends. I love beating you at tennis every time I play, so it's still...
It might happen
that's the way I saw it. When the protege comes and beats the old coach, like I did.
Do you think it'll happen?
It's a good feeling. It was a good feeling when I did. It was, well done, Mark. Well done, Tom Holmes. Brilliant.
And I think, and one little thing to add there, but big call from Mark to keep that team pretty much the same, because I slaughtered deck pattern the week before it, saying that combination with Lily didn't work at all last year. Would it work for the York Bradford game? If it didn't, Bradford would lose it, and it happened. Mark's put his faith in him. He's stuck with it. With Tom, kept him at full back and left it as it was, and it's worked. So that was a really brave call. He's put faith in his team. That York game was a freak, and it could never be that bad again. So fair play to Mark there. Really brave call, and it's paid off. And I'm chuffed for everyone involved, really. I'll let you crack on with the next one.
Next game, Featherstone, thanks, Jim. You've given me the exciting one. Featherstone, Whitehaven, as predicted. Featherstone beat Whitehaven very, very comfortably. I think the writing was on the wall at half time, 36-4. Obviously, games like that can either go either way, as it did in Castle, where Cass made the comeback, or it can kick on and just be, I don't want to say give in, but if they realise the writing's on the wall at half time, it can become a big score like it did. Fev just started the season unbelievably, haven't they? So it's taking the fun out of it for me, sadly, to be fair. I'm so and I thought I convinced myself so much that it's going to be super close, and Featherstone are just looking that good at the moment. Fair play to Sean Long. That's not a diss on Sean. Well done to Sean Long, Leon Price, what they're doing there. I think the thing that shocked me is how much homework they seem to do on every team. Every team, they have the answers every time, which they should do. They've got the better, not that they should do. Not that they won't do, because they, in paper, a lot of times they have the better teams, but it's the way they're doing it. They just seem to do it with knowledge, with executing against other teams' bad weaknesses, and they are.
They're just being ruthless, aren't they? That's what they're doing. They're being ruthless. There's no signs of any complacency yet. And again, sadly, that is not one of the games where you think, well, yeah, Feather going to be challenged here. It's going to be a tough ask for Whitehaven to go and do anything against that lot. So, yeah, there's not much more we can say. Well done to Fev for doing it in such a fashion. Next up, really.
You're sick, Jim. Sam, can I just... He's given me the worst one. He's took every other one and he's given me
I was going to pass it over to you. Don't worry.
One.
I'll introduce it for you. I'll pass it on to you. An interesting game at the Shea.
Yeah.
Halifax, big favourites, but London are proving to be a tough team, aren't they? And they've shown it again.
Yeah, what's the... how are London doing in the table? Let me just quickly flick on here.
Well,
they're 8th, yeah. They've won 1, lost 2. Yeah, so yeah, they are. They're a fair play to London. Probably exceeding what I said. I probably put the doubt on them. I also doubt they've used me as motivation, but we've been more surprised about some people using our show as motivation. So fair enough if you have. There's no hard feeling. Well done. But I think Facts are just doing what they have to do. 10-6 at half time, and then take on and win the full game. And I think that's just the nature of Facts at the moment, aren't they? They're just a good team. I think they'll win a lot of games. They're probably in that second, like you said, I think we all said second bracket of teams, aren't they, that are challenging the top 2 in the playoffs. They'll be one of the teams that you like watching closely for to see if they can pull off a win against Toulouse.
Yeah. I mean, it was just I think that Halifax would have Grixie would have been wanting a good response after a convincing victory they received from Featherstone, and at the start of the second half, they did kick into gear and they got a good couple of tries up. But then, credit to London, fighting back. It's showing that Mike Eccles has got London as a team that will not roll over. They had a narrow defeat against Batley first game of the season, so they're going to be, they're an outside chance to get in the playoffs. But if they continue to be so competitive and so resilient and can pick up points at home, they're going to be.
I've still got them in my bottom 3.
Yeah, well,
I've still got them in my bottom 3. To be honest,
I think if they are up against it, I suppose I'm talking more about their attitude.
Yeah.
To be able to go to Halifax and get a very respectable result. They're at home to Sheffield this week, so it'll be interesting to see on the home turf if they can.
There's no one. Good. The good thing about the champ that I like is that the relegation battle, for me, that's my more interesting part, because there's no rollover teams as we get on. Mm-hmm. There's not been a single rollover team yet this season, which is for me is exciting, because that, again, as in Super League in previous years, as we mentioned on the Super League show, sometimes that diffuses it when there's certain games where where there's been competitive games everywhere.
Yeah.
And that leads us perfectly on to the next game, Keighley, Newcastle. Newcastle obviously beat Swinton earlier on, and have a rough start against a very, very, very hungry Keighley team who have lost 2 on the trot, that were clearly looking for a big win after high expectations in the off-season. And they've gone for the win. They're half-time, 28-12. And you're thinking, oh, wow, Keighley. And then Newcastle again get a few late tries. Evan Lawfer, a show-me player, gets 2 tries on the day. Keighley, well done. I think they needed the win. Simple as that. Needed the win. I think Robbie Story started the season off very well. Some of the other lads have also. Keighley's played well, got 2 tries last week. I think they're starting to click now. Reece spoke to Reece earlier on in the week, and he mentioned how he says he felt this win coming, to be honest. He said they're finally getting my systems. Obviously, Reece talks about his systems more than any man talks about most things. But he's got these systems, and he said they just quite weren't getting it, obviously, with some of the League One players taking the step up, not quite getting it, struggling with the base.
New players.
And then new players not quite understanding it yet. And he said it takes time. He said in 2021 they lost 2 earlier on in pre-season. He said in 2022 they lost 1 in pre-season against Barrow in the Challenge Cup, quite emphatically. But he says they'll get it. He has faith that they'll get this system, and he said they've got it now. And then they go and beat Newcastle, score 44 points, which I think is the more impressive part, that they got loads of points. Still need to shore up that defence. Obviously leaking 24 points. They've leaked quite a few every single week. So they've got that defence they need to shore up. But yeah, I think the attack, he said, will click in, and it got proven. On Newcastle, I've got a soft spot for Newcastle, as I've said. I've been open about my soft spot for Newcastle. Again, fight back late. They were comfortably down at one point. I went, oh no, they're not going to give in, and they didn't. Again, going into like what you've said about London, same sort of thing. None of these teams are giving in. All these teams are fighting. They know it's all to play for in that bottom, and they know any team can escape. I think have they all won a game or something?
Yeah, well, Newcastle,
Barrow and Whitehaven.
Newcastle got that win. Whitehaven are the only team who've not, aren't they?
Barrow as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, out of the teams that we had in the relegation.
Well, the next question is after the next result.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think this is possibly the Bradford win was very important, but this is, for me, the performance of the week in the Championship. Swinton to sneak it against Barrow in the last minute. One thing to note is Swinton already using their dual reg with St Helens. They had a couple of our lads in there helping George Delaney and Juma. Good additions. And we did it last time we were in the champ. We actually had a relationship with Wigan last time we were in the champ, and that really helped him. So that could be key for Swinton. I mean, they've 2 wins out of 3, and ironically, the only game they've lost is against Newcastle, and that first game of the season, that was really tight, wasn't it? So absolutely emphatic start from Swinton, so well done to them. Barrow, again, without sounding like a broken record, said before the season, Barrow and Batley were the 2 teams I felt would have it really tough this year. They would have been very much wanting that victory on the road just to take a little bit of pressure off. So yeah, they've got they're doing it tough at the moment, Barrow, and they're gonna have to pick up some points as soon as they can. Just as we've said before, you don't want to be going too long without a win and sitting near the bottom of that table, because it's not a good place to be.
Scary place, isn't it? Yeah, I think I'll challenge them here, and there's obviously a thing, but that Barrow, I watched them in pre-season, a couple of games, a couple of highlights, and they looked good, they looked fun, but they played quite a few of their young players, and I'm not. Obviously, Show Me have a young lad in Rio Corker, who obviously everyone knows had a very good pre-season. But there's not. I think there's Ellis Archer, a halfback who also come from Saints. There's a couple of other young players there that I don't think have really played much of the season so far. So it'd be interesting to see them go, because to me, again, that Ellis Archer played brilliant in some of the games. Or not just meant. Obviously, Rio played well. I'm bad with names. There's another lad who played well, who was a young player, and seems like they've gone away from that and they've gone for the old experience tag, which at this very moment, isn't paying off. Obviously, lost 0.
I think Ellis played it the weekend, I think.
Did he? Let's have a look at that.
But yeah, Barrow go to York on Sunday, so that's, a tough...
No, he didn't.
Did he not?
No, I don't think so.
Right. So
there was Ellis. There's another Ellis Gillam.
Oh, sorry, right.
But yeah.
So yeah, it's a tough place to go. For Barrow, it just gets harder. Away on the road to York. So we know Barrow can come up with these results, but they just need one soon, don't they? They need one to take a bit of pressure off. But yeah, hats off to Swinton.
Brilliant,
they were favourites to finish rock bottom. Me, you and Mick all had them in our bottom 2, I believe. So to pick up 4 points out of 3 games, you never know how important that's going to be down the other end of the season, do you?
No, like you said, them Newcastle, London, all obviously Newcastle beat Swinton. London have performed well every game. Newcastle, well, they've had Toulouse last week, so I think at this moment we can write it off as teams are sadly doing. But yeah, so all the teams are looking good. Like I said, I think the one you've got to be worried about, like I said, is probably Whitehaven. I've just looked over the table again. I've said Whitehaven's probably the one there where they have to get another win or 2 here, or it could quickly get out of their hands with Swinton, Newcastle, London, chucking Barrow expected to get some wins. Yeah. If these other 3 or 4 teams keep on doing well, I think Whitehaven, you'd be panicking a bit. You'd be panicking a lot, actually. So
this weekend is Whitehaven at home to Swinton.
Yeah.
So it's massive, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, Whitehaven need that win, because if Swinton get that and they go on to 6 points already, Whitehaven are, when we're talking two, the bottom two, isn't it? So it's not just a case of catching one team. It's, without being too doom and gloom early, Whitehaven, that becomes a massive 4-point game for them. And if Swinton can pull off another victory, they can just really relax a little bit, because there's a long way to go and they're sat there on 6 points. Barrow away at York, as we've just said, a real tough game. London at home to Sheffield. Can Sheffield keep the momentum going, or will London's resilience, kick in and they can sneak a couple of points there? Newcastle have got the very tough trip to Featherstone. It's very hard to see anything but another convincing win for Featherstone. And Batley at home to Keighley. Really interesting game. Batley will be ready for some points. Can Keighley back up their first win? And really pile even more pressure onto...
I think Keighley have got a couple of injuries as well, so it'll be interesting to see what they do now, because I think some of their key players have got injured recently. So hopefully Keighley can keep it going. Hopefully Batley can come up with a performance where they said, no, just a bad week at the office. Like I said, some interesting games all around. I think I want to see Whitehaven have a win, so it's not so we don't see just a one team down. Sadly, probably like Dewsbury last year, where they only picked up a couple of wins. I want to see a nice competitive race till the end. Yeah, for survival, for the whole league, from the top end to the bottom end. I was promising the world a very competitive league, so I'm hoping it does do that, and there's not a clear bottom one or two. There's not a clear top two, like it's looking like at the moment. So
well, hopefully Saturday is Bradford at home to Toulouse. So this is perhaps the first time we're going to see a team really take it to Toulouse.
We hope so.
Yeah, well, it's on paper it's the first one where it might happen. So let's see if Bradford can put a performance up and exploit, any chinks in that Toulouse armour. So that'll be good. If Bradford can do the job there, then that is back up that win against Widnes. That'd be brilliant for them. Or a Toulouse if Toulouse win and beat Bradford comfortably, then that is going to be a huge statement.
I don't even mind if they do that. I want to see a team at least give it to him.
Well, this is the first time it might happen, so let's hope we do.
Well, I think, like I said, I don't agree with that. I think Barrow could have easily, but they've said they didn't. York could have if they chose to give a more stronger side out.
It couldn't have happened.
Why?
Because York were on a short turnaround and they sent a weakened team. Yes, so it was never going to happen.
That's their choice.
Because of a situation. Yeah, I know. I'm saying this is the first time going into a game. Once we'd seen what Toulouse did against Barrow, that we hopefully will have that competitive game on.
Well, yeah, by the team's choice. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so hopefully they do. But if they don't and they think, we'll go for a week after and let them.
Yeah, but that won't happen. Bradford, we've heard Matt Dunning say it a lot this year. Their aim is to be competitive in every game. There's no way they will be fielding a weakened reserve side.
Just mentally, like I said, I just don't want to be mentally, we just weren't up for it, maybe. That's what I don't... If they don't do that and they turn up and Toulouse still win easily, fair play Toulouse, you're better than everyone. Otherwise, good luck Bradford, give them a go, and I think you might see a couple of chinks in the armour at least. Yeah,
let's see. Right, moving on to League One. First round of the weekend. We never had a chance to do the preview show. Mick never joined us. So very quickly, who were the teams who had caught your eye pre-season with recruitment and in friendlies? Who you expecting to see being in that?
Just Dewsbury, Hunslet and Donny, I think, are the three standouts for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they're the three teams who will be likely to be the top three, and probably Workington, obviously, of a team that would be having something to say. We can never write off North Wales because they backed up year after year, getting in the top four. But I felt that there'd been a lot of changes there, including the coach going. So probably a bit harder for them this year to be up there. and obviously Workington getting Muzzer from North Wales, a proven quality League One coach, see if he can steady the ship there and they can bounce back up. And then the Lancashire teams, Oldham and Rochdale, some interesting recruitment.
Well, Rochdale went very young, haven't they? They've gone for a rebuild as such.
And Oldham almost a bit opposite. They've signed a lot of senior players, so, you know, the proven journeymen, hoping to all man a few teams. They both left it relatively late in the day, so, you know, a bit of late recruitment, especially from Oldham. So, yeah, but it's going to be a competitive league, but I'm with you. I think there's... I was at the game yesterday, Donny against Hunslet, quite a fixture to get things up and running. Great show put on by Donny. You know, they had over 1,200 in there. They've done a lot of work off the field at the club with initiatives to get season tickets in. An absolutely brilliant thing we did, where depending on the number of season tickets they sold, the less it cost everybody, you know, to try and get everybody in. It brought the price down. So to get 1,200 there for the first game, brilliant. Lots of Hunslet fans travelling, and it was a great game, you know. Brilliant. Only 2 points in it. Hunslet were the better team for large parts of it. I don't think we saw the best of Donny. I actually saw probably better attacking play from Donny when we were up against Sheffield in a pre-season friendly. So I think more to come from Donny. Hunslet will probably feel a bit aggrieved. They didn't at least get the draw. Jake Swinton had a kick in at the post. That would have been for the draw.
Wow.
They had chances to win it. But there's positives to be taken. I think, you know, Killshaw will be gutted about the result, but he'll be happy with the effort the team put in. And I think they've both shown that, you know, they will be contenders for the title this year. So that was the game I was at. I watched
Cornwall, obviously, versus Midlands. Midlands got a few players from Cass, actually. They've got a very useful, what's it called again?
Dual reg
agreement, thanks. Yeah, dual reg agreement with Cass, and I'd say that paid off. Elliot Wallace were outstanding, apart from his indiscretion on the 70th minute to get himself sent off. But other than that, played awesome. Gary, I think, with a big steal to get him to play mid-table to lower table League One rugby is an outstanding thing for Midlands. They've worked a lot with Cass in the off-season, done a lot of training together, done a lot of sessions together, and obviously they've obviously done well enough to generate a good enough relationship there where they would allow Gary to go and play in League One and risk obviously potential injury, potential like just not seeing. Some teams don't let the stars go to League One and play. So fair play to Cass for letting Gary to go see that standard. And you could tell he looked more athletic. You could just tell the full-time players from the part-time. I think Cornwall would be very upset with their performance in that first half. They were flat. Couple too many pasties ate, I think, in the off-season. A couple of too many bellies going off. I think I've spoke to a Cornwall player and said, guys, you have to get on that run. You have to get fitter if you want a chance, because I know obviously the lifestyle out there is that good compared to Yorkshire. They're probably enjoying it, and so they should. But then they also are part of it where they have to perform on the field with the fitness as well, and they just weren't quite there with the fitness. And because you could tell a lot of them were tired very early on. And I think that's what happened in the end of that first half. I think they all just looked tired, and they got rolled and rolled. The tries happened set after set. Because I think by the middle point of the first half, they had nothing left. And in the second half, obviously the coach must have given a right hammering, because then they fought and they actually dig down and stuck in there and ended up being a drawn second half. Yeah. But that's how bad they were in the first half. That the score was obviously 4. Was it? 4?
Well, it was 34-0 at half time and then 6-all in the second half.
Yeah, 46. So it shows how bad they were in the first half. So come on, Cornwall, keep fighting. I love you as a club. I love what you're all about. You give young players a chance. You give exciting players a chance. Get that fitness right. Get that fight in there like you did in that second half, and you can do anything. But you can't see a first half performance like that again. On Midland's side, I know Rich has gone a bit older. Like he's gone the Oldham way and actually gone a bit older. Again, you could pay off. It was a very workmanlike performance from everyone else. The Cass players stood out to me, to be honest. Brad Martin down the middle, and like I said, Gary and Elliot Wallace at some points were just having his way because he's just that strong and athletic compared to some of the Cornish lads who obviously are part-time when Gary and them are full-time.
Well, I think we've got to give a shout, haven't we? Because I think Harry Harrington was up against Gary and stopped him scoring. This is a winger who's played Super League, so
yeah.
I think down that side, they handled him well, didn't they? It was down the other side that the Midlands had a lot of, scored a lot of the points. I think 6 of the 7 tries were down the other edge, but clearly, and you saw the game.
Gary played fullback.
Ah, right.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Oh, he played fullback full game, did he?
A lot of it. I could be wrong until maybe Elliot got sent off. Might be miles off there.
Well, they've had, either way, they've had a lot of joy down one side, haven't they? So with the Super League experience they've brought in, and this is probably when we had a little chat before the game, didn't we? When you mentioned that they'd got cast players in, and then I looked to see you on about, it was like, wow, this could be a real curveball for the league as a general. If it is the start of the season, Castleford Tigers first team haven't got the injuries, so they have got a lot of players missing out. But if Midlands are going to be able to capitalise on this relationship they've got with him, where they train out of Castleford once a week and they can accommodate the northern players, they could be going into some games against the teams we expect to be coming top and fighting it out there for that automatic spot and causing upsets. So they're going to be a real team who you might see have some really inconsistent results. But that being said, the positives of Cornwall, and they've got a big bollocking at half time. They've got off the bus really slow, and then at least in the second half, they've come up with a very respectable draw. They just need to now take that into next week, which is Challenge Cup actually, but certainly the next league game, and make sure they do not let themselves start as slow as that. And as you say, if there's an element of fitness, they need to get that up to. No,
there is. I'll be honest. There is an element of fitness there. They look, obviously, like I said, Midlands have a few cast players, but even the non-cast players still looked another level of fitness above the Cornwall one. So, obviously they got the try. They showed what they're capable of, but there's going to have to be the coach going to have to really put his thing down and go, no, we're on it.
Need to go.
Yeah.
Right. Well. The other game yesterday was the outright favourites to gain automatic promotion and come top of the table. Dewsbury Rams travelling, it was actually at Widnes, the game was played at Widnes against Crusaders, who, like we've said, the record the last couple of years has been brilliant. We feel it might be a bit tougher for him this year, and it was certainly a tough first fixture to take on Dewsbury, the favourites. A pretty convincing win from Dewsbury. Feedback from a couple of the lads is that North Wales were very good in parts, and you can see that they are going to be, dangerous again, but they felt they could have won even more comfortably. So we'll probably learn a bit more over the next few weeks of where Crusaders are, but Dewsbury have made a firm statement there that they have come down. Finney's job is to try and get that winning mentality at Dewsbury, isn't it? Because they've had a good few years of basically being used to losing nearly every game in that champ. It's been really tough for him. So it'll be a bit different environment around Dewsbury this year. And they've made a good start to their claim of getting.
I think you saw it at the end of last year in the champ. Finney installed a happy mentality, a free-flowing rugby, and opened it up. That they weren't playing this open fun style of rugby before, and Finney's opened it up, got them playing, got them having fun, and you could tell at the end of last season. So I always thought they'd go in, if they get the recruitment right, which I think they have done, I think they'd always go into this season playing brilliantly, and I can't, it'd be tough to see. I think they will get promotion, and then it'd be whoever goes with them, either Donny or Hunslet, or maybe a thing, but I think that's Bucky's favourites, and a good start against a good side.
Well done to Dewsbury. It's Challenge Cup next week for League One teams, so already a little bit of a break, but at least it's up and running. The last game to talk about was actually on Saturday, and that was Workington went down to London and put a right score on Scholars. So a big statement from them as well. You know, they've had to recruit locally. They've picked up a few from the amateur game nearby, but we know as well as anybody the talent pool in Cumbria is exceptional, and they've got themselves off to a great start. Scholars, you know, we expect them to be sadly down there, you know, like they are most years. But yeah, a big win.
There's a bit of a rumour going around with London Scholars. They might be getting some investment. I don't know how true it is. It's generally made. This is not an inside the scoop deal, but there's a lot of rumours going around with the Scholars that there might be investment. So hopefully for them there is, and they can have a few. If it does come in or whatever, it might be totally untrue, but there is rumours, and if it does come in, that'd be good. That'd be good fun, and they probably deserve it because, like I said, they stick in it every year, and very rarely are they up there. So they deserve a bit of love. They deserve a thing, and it may be the investor watches this show, or the potential. Sorry, not the investor. A potential investor watches this show. And if you are, get invested because they deserve all the love they can, and you're getting a club in a big city that probably, if you do the right thing, can get a bit of love there. So Scholars, stick in there, and hopefully maybe that rumour is true. If it's not, apologise. I apologise for bringing it even up, yeah. But hopefully there might be a little bit of truth.
Yeah, well, now's the time, isn't it? IMG have made it clear that they want a London presence in there, and it's only natural if you're going to get the London team in the top flight, then at some point, then they're going to need one in the second flight. Yeah. So yeah, let's see what happens there. But yeah, no big surprises in League One to start the year off. It was, you know, pretty much as expected. And I look forward to round two, although we've got to wait a week of Challenge Cup next week. But yeah, it's good it's up and running. Fair play to favourites Dewsbury. Fair play to Donny for starting the seasons off really well. Workington showing that they're going to be up there. And then, yeah, one little shout out to Hunslet because that was a hell of an effort. On another day, they could have took all the points there.
Very positive over everything, Jim. I like it.
Yeah.
I
love League One.
You're batting everyone's base there. No one's going to ring you mad, are they, Jim?
No. Always honest. Always honest.
Always nice, yeah.
I think it was a
Let's
great
see some
game.
Controversial statements from Jim next week.
I made it. I said
Jim,
Sheffield top four and they're coming out.
Bring some controversial statements next week and let's get into it. I want some juice.
All right.
And we'll have it.
You bring one and I'll bring one.
I bring one every week.
What was it this week?
I've slaughtered Cornwall. I've slaughtered... who did I slaughter? Yeah. I still said London, I think, are relegated. I'd bring a few every week, Jim. You can't get me on that one. I want to hear a few from you. But let's go.
I'll think of one for next week.
Brilliant.
All right.
Sign us off, Jim. You're the man.
Well, there we go. That's round two of the Champ complete. Round one of League One complete. Team of the week for me, Swinton Lions.
Oh, I like that.
It's got to be to get 4 points on the board after 3 rounds. And the game of the week going forward, I think it's going to be Whitehaven Swinton in that 4-pointer, you know.
Yeah, big 4-pointer, isn't it?
It's got to be. Despite Swinton's start, I still feel that they're going to be, you know, in that bottom 3. So if they can pick up the points, unbelievable.
Brilliant.
Let's see.